Namaskar. Welcome to episode 6, where we discuss the pattern is not an accident. Why the same person keeps showing up wearing a different face. By now, if you have watched the previous 5 episodes, you have probably started noticing something, maybe uncomfortably. A pattern, a shape that your relationships keep taking, even when the people involved seem nothing alike on paper. Different name, different job, different city even. But somehow, the same eventual feeling, the same kind of hurt, the same moment where things go from coming home to falling apart. And it happens in almost the same way it happened last time. If you have noticed this, I want to tell you something important before we go any further. You are not imagining it, and you are not broken for it being true. You have a pattern. Everyone does. And today we are going to talk about why it repeats and then how you actually find yours. In the section 1, we discuss why repetition is not coincidence. In the earlier episodes, we talked about the filter, the projection, the template your conditioning built long before you ever met the people you have been meeting. Here is the part we have not said directly yet, so let us say it plainly now. The template does not update itself just because one relationship ended. When a relationship ends through restoration that quietly failed, or through blame, the two paths we discussed last episode, the projection that built the whole experience is rarely examined. It is grieved only. It is rationalized. Sometimes it is even blamed entirely on the other person, which feels like resolution, but is not. But it is very rarely looked at directly and asked, what was I actually looking for in this person? What old shape was I trying to fit them into? And because the template is not examined, it does not change. It simply waits. And the next person who fits it closely enough will trigger the same attraction, the same honeymoon, the same eventual crack, because the underlying mechanism generating all of it is still fully intact. This is why the pattern repeats. Not because you keep choosing badly, not because you have terrible luck, but because the thing actually doing the choosing, that is the template, has never been brought into conscious view. In the section 2, we discuss about what a pattern actually looks like. Patterns rarely announce themselves clearly. They do not usually look like I keep dating the same kind of person. They are often more specific and more subtle than that. It might be a pattern of feeling responsible for managing someone else's moods. A pattern of being the one who gives more and notices it too late. A pattern of choosing people who need rescuing, or people who are slightly unavailable, or people who mirror a parent's specific kind of warmth followed by a specific kind of withdrawal. It might not even be about the other person's qualities at all. It might be about the role you keep occupying, the position you keep finding yourself in, relationship after relationship, regardless of who is standing across from you. This is often the more accurate place to look. Not what kind of person do I keep attracting, but what role do I keep playing, and what does that role protect me from, or what does it try to repair? In section 3, we talk about where the template was actually built. I want to be brief here because this is not the episode to go deep into developmental history. That is its own large subject, but it would be dishonest to skip it entirely. The template was built early, in the family you grew up in the specific way love was given, withheld, made conditional, or made unpredictable. In what you learned, not through anyone explaining it to you, but through repeated lived experience about what closeness costs, what it requires of you, and what happens when you need something and the people around you cannot meet it. None of this is offered as blame towards your parents or your early life. Most people who shaped your template were operating from their own unexamined templates, built the same way from the generation before them. This is simply where the groove was cut. Knowing that is useful, but knowing it intellectually is not the same as seeing your own current pattern clearly. And that second thing is what we are actually here for today. In section 4, we discuss how to actually find your pattern. So let us make this practical. Here is how you begin to see your own template rather than just suspecting it exists. Look across your significant relationships, not just romantic ones. This often runs through friendships and even work relationships too, and ask 3 questions. First, what is the feeling I keep arriving at regardless of who the person is? Not the specific complaint, the underlying feeling, unseen, too much, responsible for someone else's happiness, never quite enough, waiting for someone to choose me first. The second one is, what was the first relationship in my life, usually in childhood, where I learned that feeling? You are not looking for something dramatic necessarily. Sometimes the most powerful template came from something quiet and constant rather than something acute. And the third is, what did I learn to do in response to that feeling? Did you learn to perform, to overgive, to withdraw first, to become highly attuned to other people's mood so you could see trouble coming? That response, that strategy is usually still running. It is usually the thing you call just how I am in relationships. The feeling, the origin, and the strategy. Find those 3 things across 2 or 3 of your significant relationships, and you will very often find the same shape sitting underneath all of them, wearing different clothes. Now in section 5, we discuss why this is not fatalism. I want to be careful here because there is a way of hearing this episode that leads to discouragement, as though I am telling you that you are condemned to repeat the same pattern endlessly with no way out. That is not what I am saying. The pattern repeats specifically because it is unconscious. The moment it becomes conscious, the moment you can actually name your own template, see the feeling, trace the origin, recognize the strategy, something changes. Not instantly, not completely, but meaningfully. Because you cannot choose differently from a pattern you cannot see. But once you can see it, you have something you did not have before. H.Y.'s point. The next time the familiar feeling arrives, the recognition, the coming home, the particular shape of attraction that has led somewhere painful before, you will have the chance to notice it as it is happening, rather than only understanding it in hindsight, the way you have with every relationship before this one. That noticing in the moment is not nothing. It is, in fact, most of the work. Here is what I want you to actually do this week. Not just think about, do. Take 2 or 3 relationships that have mattered to you, and for each one, write it down. Do not just think it, the feeling, the origin, and the strategy we talked about in section 4. Then look at what you have written side by side. See if a shape emerges. You may not find complete clarity in one sitting, that is fine. This is not a puzzle that solves in one attempt. It is a practice of looking honestly, repeated over time. In the next episode, we are going to take this further into the question of why certain relationships carry so much more charge, so much more sense of fate or inevitability than others. And what the tradition means when it says some encounters are not random at all. If this series has been useful to you, share it with someone who you think is ready to look at their own pattern. That is how this work finds the people it is meant for. So I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you.